Okay, welcome to the Governance Committee meeting for May 19th. We're going to be discussing today tourism. Go ahead, please, Janet, please present.
So all I was going to say was we've been talking about, to everyone else who just jumped on, a suggestion of changing under this paragraph. So we have, regarding the management plan, the government committee recommends that the scope of the plan take into account feedback from a wide spectrum of stakeholders, which already exists in what was sent to you guys. It should also develop baseline data from which metrics can be created, you know, think about water, blah, blah, blah. And then Jane was suggesting that in accompanying the tourist management plan, that we add this: during the course of developing that plan, this is an opportunity to assess the merit of moving tourism promotion and management away from a contracted organization into county government. This is a recommendation of the governance committee. So that's a little bit of a wording change. I see David looking for it, looking for the paragraph. You're muted, David.
Is he?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Oh, now you're not. Now we can hear you. And then, so Dick, what's your feeling about that?
I don't agree with it. I think it's not a complicated decision, and I think part of the motivation behind this, and we've discussed it at length in getting to this point, I mean, as a group we've discussed it, is that we feel it would give the county more control, almost force the county to have more control over it and the decisions that are made, and I favor that. So I don't support this change.
Okay, so Dick, I'm just gonna, because I do have to jump off like in 1 minute, but then if, you know, depending on where everybody else lands on this, I would at least then suggest that in the course of developing this management plan, you know, take that opportunity to determine how this function would be rolled back into the county government. In other words, don't just throw on the, don't throw at the feet of the council this proposition and not take this important opportunity to explore how this would be done. Because that's a recipe for disaster, frankly. I mean, you know, the development of this management plan is something, is in my view, something that will involve a broader set of stakeholders and could also consider how will this function be incorporated into the county government, and what are the implications of that? If it's not an assessment of the merits of it, then at least it's studying how it would be done and laying out a roadmap for the county government. Absent that, how is this meant to happen? And then you roll into the end of 2022 and boom, it's happened. So I don't know, I'm playing devil's advocate a bit here on this, because it's a big decision and it just requires thoughtful consideration.
So how about during the course of developing the management plan, the county council should take the opportunity to also develop a plan to move tourism promotion and management away from a contracted organization to county government.
You could say shall, make it stronger. So I defer to my esteemed fellow commissioners. Unfortunately, I now have an interview with a client in Europe, and I have to go.
Bonjour.
Jane, thank you for sharing with us your thoughts. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome, and you guys, I know, will make a good decision, and I would likely support it. So if I need to abstain because I wasn't part of the discussion, no problem. So I leave it to you guys, but excellent job. Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jane.
Bye.
David.
Now, I had suggested in an email that a certain wording be added at the end of the sentence, the paragraph that begins with the plan.
Okay, I couldn't hear anything. You're cutting in and out. What did you say?
Okay. I'm sorry, real quick. I think Commissioner Ranker's here. So let's take attendance. I think that's probably the best way to do it.
Dave, did we start before 7?
Wait, just a few minutes with Jane to get her thoughts, because she had to jump on a call. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. So taking roll for the governance committee today. Janet Brunel.
Here.
Tony Gazal,
Present.
uh, Olivia Roseberry,
Here.
David Dellendorf,
Here.
Kevin Ranker. Commissioner Ranker. Is he here?
There he is.
Kevin, can you hear us? Okay. Okay, he's got a wave. Let's see. Brunel and then David
Yes,
Anderson.
but I have to.
I'm sorry.
You're cutting out, Kevin. You're frozen. You're frozen.
Okay. I can't.
He's frozen. I'll let him know.
Okay. And I can't seem to get full grid screen, so can you stop sharing screen
Yep.
well for a
Hold on.
second? Okay.
Stop sharing. There we go.
Okay, cool. Okay, and have we had, let's see. We had a chance to read the minutes that Commissioner Dellendorf's.
Yes.
Is there a
Very
motion
funny,
to,
very funny, David.
yeah,
at
is there a
the
motion
end.
to approve those minutes?
I move we approve the minutes. With the change of, I did not say 15, like, whatever I said at the end. The funny thing you put at the end.
Well,
Okay,
you say, you said, maybe not 60 seconds, but you said 5 minutes. or something. I'll take that out.
Okay.
okay. Okay,
Second, vote.
okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so approved. Okay, we're continuing the discussion with
Dave, just so you know, you didn't call my name in the roll. I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Grout, thank you for so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we're all here except
There's Kevin.
yeah, it's Kevin. Great.
You guys,
You're still cutting in and out.
Can you hear us?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Sorry about
Thank you.
that.
Okay, so we'll continue on with our discussion.
Okay.
And go ahead and share screen again, please.
Yep. Okay, so Jane wanted to add, before we get to your what you wanted to add, David, just so Tony and Kevin, in case they didn't hear, wanted to add right after we talk about regarding the management plan, which we support, and we hope that there will be a broad spectrum of stakeholders and that there be a baseline of data, that this paragraph was changed a little bit so that it says during the course of developing the management plan, the county council shall also take the opportunity to, develop a plan to move tourism promotion and management away from a contracted organization to county government. This is the recommendation of the governance committee. Her concern was that the county council should also, in corollary to the management plan, if we're making this recommendation and if they accept it, which they may not, that they should study the feasibility of doing this, which I assume they would do anyhow, but she just wanted it stated in the, what it would mean. And I assume that if the county council were to undertake this, they would do some sort of feasibility study. I mean, it just seems like they wouldn't take our word for it. Kevin has his hand raised and David has his hand raised.
Okay, I did not see this. Okay.
I can see it. So Kevin had his hand raised and then
Yes,
David
Kevin,
has.
please.
So I agree, Janet, that it's implied. Also, I just want to clarify, the county council has to accept our recommendation. It's whether or not they act upon it
Okay.
is up to them. So they will accept it as a recommendation from the charter review.
That's what I meant. I meant, they will accept it and then what they do with it is up to them.
And I had a second part, if I may.
Yeah.
Did you want to have here or somewhere else, or did I miss it? The any language talking about investigation or research with regard to worker housing?
So that's further down.
Okay, I'll wait.
okay.
Wait. I knew it was in there. I was saying, did you want
Okay.
the paragraph to be repetitive or not? So I'll wait and let you
Okay.
go.
And then who was it? David?
David, yeah.
Yeah, David.
Yeah, the fifth paragraph down that talks about the scope of any plan is incomplete in the sense that it should end with something like ultimately the needs as defined in the tourism management plan should define the extent of promotion by the county. That's I'm reading exact words that are way at the end, the next to the last paragraph when it talks about a decrease in the overall amount of the contract. But I think it's very important that it be in this fifth paragraph.
So
because ultimately, that's what it's all about, is determining what the needs are.
okay, so here's it later down. Ultimately, the needs is defined in the tourism act should define the extent of promotion. So you want that moved up?
Well, or repeated. I mean, it's maybe if it's relative in the second to last paragraph, leave it there. But it's more importantly, it should be in the end of the fifth paragraph.
Okay, so the outcome of
It's email that I sent around. I'm just repeating.
it was very hard. I saw your email, David. It was very hard to follow. So any clarity you can bring to it in person would be helpful. The outcome of the management should drive.
I would
the-
just cut and paste or copy and paste the last sentence of this second to the last paragraph. You could do that later if you want.
There. That's it.
Well, I would put that up at the end of the paragraph. I wouldn't make that a new paragraph. Well, it could be. Either way, it's fine. I think
Yeah.
it belongs. Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about the management plan. And then this was Jane's recommendation that the county council shall take the opportunity to develop a plan to move tourism promotion management. This is the recommendation. So that is our recommendation, to move it out of the outside contract into county government, correct? Can I move on?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. So then we talk about it's not reasonable to have money spent on a plan that is handed off to an outside entity with no oversight by the county. The Visitors Bureau contract expires in 2022. This will provide more than a year to develop a master plan and transition the management of tourism promotion in the county. Then talk about the chambers, the marketing of the county as a whole should be done by a county manager. And then we get to, in the event the council elects to disregard, this, because we're not putting this here, this recommendation, renew the contract with the Visitors Bureau, the governance committee. Strongly represent, so now they've decided they're not going to do that. So the two other recommendations we have are to decrease the overall amount of the contract. San Juans have been discovered. Now, here's where it gets into the seasonal working, how's our working? The San Juans are now in the same category. I'll move that up to there, actually. Some of those lodging tax funds could be put to better use, such as for seasonal worker housing and protection and maintenance of existing tourism infrastructure, both of which would be legal uses of tax dollars. And then to restate, so that's where it talks about worker housing, Kevin. Kevin has his hand raised.
Yes, Kevin, and then Olivia. And you're muted. You're muted.
Got it. Sorry.
It's so early.
No, you're my third Zoom call.
Jesus. Okay.
My comment was that in the recommendation to the council, it might be worthwhile to have that line about worker housing and infrastructure.
It is there.
No, it isn't.
What?
What is the actual recommendation to the council?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Instead of saying some of the lodging tax could be put to better use, Instead, you're saying, if there is any savings, this should be used for.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, so all of this is there, is there a I thought that bolded paragraph at the top was the actual recommendation to the council. And then this is findings.
Can I,
Okay, before you speak, David, so we have two recommendations. One is this recommendation, moving tourism promotion and away from, moving it into the county government.
Okay.
If they don't do that, our second recommendation are these two things. So this is a second recommendation. In the event the council elects to disregard this recommendation, renew the contract, then we're asking them to decrease the overall amount of the contract and redefine the composition of the advisory board. So there are two recommendations.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, can I have a follow-up?
Yeah. Yeah, follow up, and then Olivia.
Okay, thank you. So it's unprecedented for county councils not to just disregard Charter Review Commission's recommendations. We've not had them in San Juan County, and we are always unique. So who knows what this county council will do. That said, I think it is a bit, and I'm really sorry. I apologize. I didn't catch this yesterday when I read this. But I think we are, I think we should go forward saying, here's the recommendation, and not put in here, oh, and if you disregard it, I mean, that's opening the door. Go ahead and disregard it, and here's your plan B. I think we should say, here's the recommendation, and the recommendation has two parts. A, do your move that you've suggested. B, consider infrastructure and worker housing.
Okay, Olivia, please.
I also, same as Kevin, kind of misread this yesterday. So I also agree that we should just make one recommendation, and this should just be within one section. I also think that we need to, and I'm not seeing it in there, and I reviewed the document this morning, make a suggestion that all employees of the Visitors Bureau be assimilated into their positions within the county if the county moves forward with our suggestion. I know that there is, I'm sure that there's some tension or some worry about that for the people who are fully employed, and that would be a suggestion that I have. I was just thinking about that this morning, that hasn't been mentioned.
In this document, it has not been mentioned in this document. We have discussed that before, and we've suggested that before. Yeah.
So David has his hand up. And
Oh,
then
sorry,
Dick.
David, and then,
This
yeah,
this
Okay.
isn't what I'm going to say, but I like what Olivia has proposed, but it might have to say to the extent possible, because I don't think we can assume that there's going to be, but maybe they want to cut back and save some money. I'm a little bit confused with the recommendation. I looked at a draft and it has 1, 2, 3. Your draft of the 15th. Now I don't see 1, 2, 3.
It's
here.
just for I just took it out of this one. So
It's confusing when the formatting gets changed and we're trying.
I understand that, but it sounds like a lot is going to get changed between now and the meeting.
Well,
So
Very hard for me with my comments to figure out where does this go. But anyway, I liked it when it was 3 specific recommendations rather than one combined recommendation. I think more to Kevin's point. This thing about affordable housing is in the event that they don't go along with us. And it's missing in the recommendations up above. And maybe it's already been clear to you that that's what he was saying. I apologize if I'm being repetitive, but it needs to be up above in the recommendations. And you might have, if you keep the last 2 paragraphs about the eventuality that they don't go along with us, yeah, keep it there. But it more importantly, it should be in the recommendations up above, because that's what we really want them to do.
okay, so what I'm hearing, and then is that we do not have the if they don't go along with us, here are suggestions. What and I can move the worker housing part up here. So 2 things. One, that we just make a recommendation that we move away from an outside entity to an inside entity to the extent possible, move the FTE from the outside entity into into the government entity. And if there's a reduction in, and I don't know how, advertising cost, like put less emphasis on advertising, put more emphasis on worker housing. Is that what you're saying? Okay. And then get rid of this, all this, in the event they're not doing this, but keep the part about worker housing and infrastructure. Correct?
Is that what you're saying?
I need some guidance here, guys.
Is what you're saying,
Oh, that-
Commissioner Dellendorf?
Yeah.
Well, Kevin said that and Olivia said that, I think. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. But I'm fine with that.
Dick?
Uh,
Please.
Well, I like the idea of getting rid of the option.
Okay,
I don't agree with telling the commissioners that they must or should retain the same number of staff. We talked about this early on, and we concluded that this might present an opportunity for cost savings. It might also require some staff with different skills. I just don't think we should tie their hands that way. And if it can be done with fewer people, then it should be done with fewer people. So I don't support that.
so I think Olivia had, no, David had phrasing that was to the extent possible. And then it's
Yeah.
up to the county council to do whatever they want.
Yeah, I don't support that either, but that's my opinion. I just think it sort of pushes them that way, and I don't think we ought to do that.
Is that something we should entertain a vote on? Tony, please.
I agree with Dick Grout. I think it's, you just tell them what are the larger picture items, and just they can deal with the smaller picture items, like, employees moving from one department to another department. So I would just leave it I would just leave that out.
So what if we just make our recommendation that, there's a recommendation to develop a plan to move tourism promotion management away from an outside entity into the government. It doesn't seem, for these reasons below, here. And then add that to the extent, I'll add something, or should I just leave anything about employees, just leave it out?
I would leave it out.
Okay. And then just say, with any cost savings, or just add, lodging tax money could be put to better use for seasonal worker housing and maintenance of infrastructure somewhere up at the top with our recommendation. And we're not saying, so we're getting rid of all of this basically in the event.
Simplified.
Yeah.
If I may say something, I think including the encouraging the county to look at what's the employees at the Visitors Bureau is, I think it's wise. It kind of says more to the spirit in which we're trying to do, I sense.
Mhm.
And we're just trying to bring more control of tourism into county government. And I think that wouldn't be so threatening to a lot of people who are really concerned about this. That's just my thought about it. And so I kind of tend to agree with David.
And Olivia.
And Olivia. No, that's Olivia's suggestion, actually. Yeah.
So let's vote on it and move on.
Okay. Janet,
Yeah.
is there?
I'm abstaining. I just want to put words on a piece of paper. That's all I
Okay.
want to do at this point.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. If there's no motion, let's just move on.
Well,
Then what are we doing with it?
Look,
Kevin's got his hand
Yeah,
raised.
Kevin?
I don't think you can say the county will transfer all staff. I think you could have a line suggesting that, they'd like to consider the existing staff when making appointments or something, but you can't tie the county councils or the county manager's hands that way.
So should I add to the extent possible, the county council should consider,
Existing professional staff in the area or something.
okay. Does that work for everyone?
I will say there's also others outside of the Visitors Bureau staff who work on these issues within chambers of commerce and so on. So
Okay.
that's why I would say the county council should consider existing professional staff.
Staff of whom?
I just said it. Existing professional staff who work in this area. And that's obviously suggesting that you're going to start with the Visitors Bureau staff, and then there's others though.
So, okay, I'm gonna make these changes. Olivia's got to go to work. What do we want to do? Should I, once I make, it's not gonna take me long to make these changes. And then should I just send it to everyone? And hopefully you guys can get back to me before the meeting to make notes?
Yes,
Is that okay? I mean, literally like within the next hour, I should have, I'll get rid of the bottom part. I'll make this, a stronger recommendation. I'll add the part about employees and about the worker, like any money should be used for prioritize working seasonal worker housing and infrastructure support. And David has his hand raised.
Oh, David?
I'm okay with that. I'm willing to have another Zoom in an hour or two when after you've drafted it. And because I don't know if we'll agree if we just send out another version and then we don't have a chance to ask any questions. I know Olivia can't do that, and obviously Jane can't. But
So Olivia put, we can't do that because the Open Public Meeting Act sent it out to send.
Okay. Got it.
Kevin?
One other thing, would you scroll up to the top, because the third half earlier said something that I thought was not appropriate.
This is new stuff, green, this green stuff is stuff Jane added, so just.
So, this is a problem. Again, we're.
Okay, but you haven't, David, you have it in front of you. Just read what you have.
I got to think about it. It's not just reading it.
Here.
Send it to me or something like that. Distribute
So
it.
here's what it was before.
The green was taken out or
Yeah.
added?
Okay, so there are two different documents. This was added. This is what was sent. This is
Okay.
this is the old draft.
Okay, go down then to the fifth paragraph that used to say a majority of the full CRC agreed. Go down to that one. Keep going.
Is the conclusion of the CRC.
No, keep going down. I want to see what comes after the paragraph that starts with the governance committee.
I think it's up here. A majority of the full CRC agreed with the conclusion.
I don't see that. I'm what I'm looking at on the screen.
Oh, hold on.
It's being blocked by everybody's faces.
Okay.
You need to scroll.
So this used to say the CRC, but I changed it to the government's committee. I took the CRC out of this.
Yeah, this is fine. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have a process suggestion that other committees have done in similar situations. If I
Please
may.
welcome.
Okay, so Janet can prepare this based on our comments now. And what we are authorizing her to do is finalize this, and we can do this now in an open public meeting. We authorize her to finalize this. If, when she begins to present it, there will be discussion at the full CRC, and every member of this committee will be part of that discussion. And so if there are changes that are made that a member of this subcommittee does not feel are part of or in line with what they had suggested, they can raise that with the full CRC. But we are authorizing Janet to finalize this based on this conversation. And remember, this is just a recommendation to the full CRC. This
Right.
isn't the ballot measure that will go forward. So there's still more room for discussion. So I
It's
would,
also, it's not a ballot measure either.
Right.
sorry, this one's a recommendation.
Yeah.
So that's what I would recommend, that we by consensus are authorizing Janet to finalize this presentation to the full CRC. And then if any of us, David, if your questions still exist, you just raise that with the full CRC.
second,
There's been a second. Is there discussion?
I agree. Let's just call a vote unless anybody disagrees.
Can I just add one thing for discussion? I'm going to add these two paragraphs. One is about the information about just a little history And then one is, given the fragility of our environment, the public needs to be more aware of plans for tourism. This was two things that Jane wanted.
And who's hosting the meeting right now?
I am.
Oh, okay, because Janet, I was going to say I have something else to talk to you about briefly, but I also have a question on this, but I can stay on with you if you're going to work on it right now.
Yeah, I can stay on.
Okay,
Okay.
can I make a suggestion?
For the-
Redraft.
Wait, we got,
Yes.
did we call the question?
Well, this is
Call the question.
Yes.
We're just, okay.
related to the motion. Please, Jane, put back in when you do these
Janet.
changes. Janet, put back in the numbers that were in there before, because that'll facilitate conversation and reference. When people want to say, oh, with regard to such and such, then they can say regard recommendation 1 or 2 or 3. As it is, when those disappear, people like me were counting down, you know, the 6th paragraph from the top or the
Okay.
third. It makes it so much easier to have a dialogue if you're
So-
not using people. over
Okay.
Talking about.
Okay. Question's been, has the question been called?
Yes.
There were discussion. Okay, question's been called. All those in favor of supporting the motion of Janet reviewing this and the opening up for the discussion of the full CRC? All those in favor of that, raise your hand.
Aye.
I,
Okay, We
One
have-
last thing. This is probably going to be a split screen tonight. So David, it'll have numbers on it, but on on the left side will be all this verbiage. On the right side will be some of our findings, like how we got to these decisions.
I'm
Can you
sorry, I did not get a copy of that vote. I didn't get a total of that vote. Can everybody please raise their hand who's in support of, excuse me, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Commissioner Ranker,
Yeah.
like, okay, 6, 7. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I appreciate it. We'll be moving this with Janet's changes, recommendations to the full CRC this afternoon.
Can
So,
I suggest, Janet, be sure to send it out to all of us ahead of time, because I print things out. It's so much easier to have it on a piece of paper in front of me than having to worry about where you are on the screen and
Yep.
scrolling.
Yep,
Please,
you should have it within an hour.
And could I make one other comment? It's kind of a question about process. And Kevin, if you're still on, I'd appreciate weighing in. My understanding is, and I talked to Amy Vera about this yesterday, that when we send the recommendations to the county council, they actually can adopt recommendations. And I'm talking about recommendations for amendment. I'm talking about recommendations for amendments, that they can actually approve the amendment and not put it on the ballot. If they get something from us, for example, an amendment about justice and equity, and they say, you know, this is something we can do, we'll do it. And they don't have to put it on the ballot. It only goes to the ballot if they decide to defer to make a decision to the voters rather than taking the action themselves. And Amy confirmed to me that that was the case. Maybe all of you already knew it. I apologize if you did. But she made it clear that it's only in regard to things that they have authority to do, such as to establish a new department, for example, tourism. They can do that without it actually going to the voters. The other departments that we're talking about establishing, they can do that. They don't have to go to the voters. They may decide to go to the voters because they think this is too important for us to decide by ourselves, but it can go, we'll do it ourselves. What they can't do is amend the charter. They can't, is in the charter. That can only be done by voters. Anyway, just for what it's worth, I put that out there. And Kevin probably knows all this anyway.
I was just going to say, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I will review the process at this evening's meeting. One of you can remind me to do that. But for the sake of everybody's agenda, who was promised 15 minutes, including the public, I think we should cut this since we've taken our action.
Okay.
And Dick needs to go take a shower. He's got his bathrobe on already.
Okay. Is there a motion to end the meeting?
Yes, Kevin, are you calling me back or what are we doing?
I was going to say I can stay on with you now if David wants to make you host.
Dave.
Yep. With that, I will end the recording, and this is the end of the meeting. thank you, everybody, for joining us and getting this accomplished in terms of.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Perseverance.
What?
Thanks for your perseverance.